Some matches live on because of trophies and titles lifted at the end. Others are remembered because of heart, courage, and the moments when giving up is no longer an option. In 2011, Vietnam arrived at the World Championships with nothing to fall back on and no margin for mistakes. There were no replacements, no second chances, and no safety net. There was only one man left standing for the nation, Nguyen Tien Minh. Round of 32, where a single victory decides whether the journey continues or ends immediately. On the opposite side of the net stood Paruppalli Kashyap of India, younger, quicker, and was considered one of the toughest rising stars in the tournament. For Nguyen Tien Minh, the challenge was monumental. He faced an opponent at the peak of his agility and confidence, someone who could punish even the smallest lapse in focus. The match was dragged all the way into a deciding game, a final test that would demand everything from both players. Since the very beginning of that final game, Paruppalli Kashyap relentlessly applied pressure with wave after wave of attacks, forcing Nguyen Tien Minh deep into defense and steadily pulling points away as the match began to slip from his control.
Yeah, well, great to see new countries emerging. And
his style of play suggests to me that he is definitely fit enough. He's played like that all his life. And
Nguyen Tien Minh was always chasing, always fighting from behind, never once allowed the comfort of a lead. Every time Nguyen tried to close the gap, Kashyap responded immediately, widening it again and denying him even a brief moment of momentum. After the interval, Paruppalli Kashyap continued his relentless attacking play, dictating the pace of the rallies and using clever net shots to create openings for his powerful attacks.
The emphasis appeared to be on take it early.
Nguyen Tien Minh, trailing 8-13, refused to be overwhelmed. He constantly found ways to stay in the fight, using precise control, sharp placements, and tactical lifts to force Paruppalli into errors, slowly chipping away at the deficit point by point.
That's incredible, isn't it? Pushed it wide.
15-10 now, it's 12-15.
Oh, string's gone again.
Just as Nguyen Tien Minh managed to close the gap to 13-15, it seemed the fight was slipping away again. Paruppalli Kashyap surged forward as Nguyen began to falter, committing a series of forced and unforced errors under the relentless pressure.
Missed it.
It's a good mix.
He was 1 point away from leaving the World Championships. The scoreboard read 15-20, 5 match points down. The crowd had started to hold its breath, unsure if the impossible could happen. The cameras were ready to capture defeat, not a comeback. But Nguyen Tien Minh refused to give in. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable moments in sport don't come when you're leading. They come when you stand tall, even when the world expects you to fall.
Always missed it.
One match point was saved, then another, with calm hands and a steady mind. No panic, no hesitation, only discipline shaped by years of sacrifice, and belief built through countless battles.
Well.
With each rally, the tension grew heavier, and slowly, almost invisibly, the pressure began to shift. This was no longer one man fighting another. This had become Vietnam standing against elimination. A nation built on endurance. A nation that refuses to bow, even when the odds are cruel. With every point, Nguyen carried the weight of millions and refused to set it down.
Goodness. Oh, it's going wide.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And that's in. Oh, that's going out.
Would you believe it? 5 match points have been saved by Tien Nguyen.
For a moment, it looked as if it would end it all, as Parupali Kashyap came close to closing the match with precision and power. But Nguyen refused to let the moment break him. With lightning reflexes, perfect placement, and unshakable determination, he saved the 5th match point. What once seemed impossible now began to feel alive, and the impossible rally had rewritten the course of history.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's landed in. Wow.
Now we're going to have fun. Oh.
Wow.
I actually think it's a good call.
Clip the outside edge of the line.
That's what I mean. I think it's in.
I'd hate to be a line judge, wouldn't you?
Here it comes.
Unbelievable.
15-20, down to 22-20. 7 straight points, 5 match points saved. Nguyen Tien Minh staged the unthinkable. Every shot executed with precision, every rally fought with unshakable belief. Slowly, impossibility transformed into reality. Nguyen Tien Minh didn't just win that night, he wrote himself into history. You don't need gold medals to be remembered as a hero. Sometimes, greatness is defined not by the trophies you collect, but by the refusal to fall when everyone expects you to. 5 match points, 5 chances to quit, 5 chances to give in, and 5 times Nguyen chose to fight. That night, Nguyen Tien Minh reminded everyone watching why sports are more than just games. They are a stage where the human spirit is tested, where patience meets precision, and where heart can overcome the impossible. And for Vietnam, he didn't just win a match, he delivered a moment of pride, inspiration, and hope that would be remembered for years to come.
Tien Nguyen of Vietnam